Why did Jamie know that he was going to win that fight leading up to it?
Because I had to. With the UFC, 3 losses in a row is like really not good. And I hadn't even had a win yet. So my coach even said to me before the fight, he was like, this is a must-win fight, this is like our back's on the wall now. So it was just literally do or die. So I just knew walking out to that fight, I was saying to myself, this is it. You got to pull the trigger.
Well, welcome to episode number 3 of the Elevated Athlete podcast. We have a very special guest today, but before we start with the guests, we're going to do these 2 deep breaths. So if you're listening, driving on the way to work, or if you're watching on YouTube at home, there's nothing more powerful than just taking a couple of deep breaths. So let's take a nice big inhale together now. And exhale. And one more nice big inhale wherever you are. And exhale. Today, guys, in episode 3, we have Jamie Mullarkey on the podcast, UFC lightweight fighter with a record of 17-8. Jamie, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
We are here in your hometown of the Central Coast. I wanted to start with, what are the people on the Central Coast been like supporting you through your journey? What's the people mean to you on the Central Coast?
Oh, it means a lot, man. Everyone's been so supportive. I've never even when I've been out, and that's usually the time when people will come up to you the most, when everyone's had a few drinks in them, a bit of confidence or whatever. And everyone's just always been so positive. It's really good, because no one's ever tried to start some shit or do anything negative. It's just always been positive. So it means a lot.
Do you feel like, you probably won't say it or admit it, but do you feel like you've been a catalyst in welcoming MMA and expanding MMA on the Central Coast?
Yeah, for sure. I think as far as MMA goes, I think it's bringing it to the coast a lot more, and we've got a bunch of young guys in the gym at the moment at our gym at Central Coast MMA. Just keen as mustard, man, and it's really good to see.
Was fighting always what you wanted to do, or was it like an off-season thing? Did you play any other sports?
Yeah, that's actually how I got into fighting. So in the off-season of rugby, I played for Terrigal Trojans for 2 years. I think it was under 13s, 14s. And in the off-season, I just wanted something to keep me fit. Was sick of getting too out of shape in the off-season. And I was watching at the time, you remember Fuel TV?
Yeah,
back in the day? Yeah, just showing all the cool sports, all the extreme sports. The Ultimate Fighter, I think it was season 7, The Ultimate Fighter. That was on, and I was just getting into it, and my brother was showing me stuff, and he was actually the one who got me into it. He was like, "Oh, you should see this Ultimate Fighter stuff. They fight on the ground, and they use jiu-jitsu and submissions," and I was just really enjoying it. And then he actually told me about these guys that taught them at his school at Erina High School back in the day. So it was Amazon. That was the company name, and was actually just around the corner here at Erina. And I went into for my first session. I put a kid in an armbar, and I just was hooked.
So you said you just put someone in an armbar. Was it that moment, or when was the moment that you recognized fighting was for you?
I reckon after my first fight.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I didn't even think I was going to compete. I was just enjoying it. And I was training for so I started when I was 14, and then I had my first fight when I was 15. So about a year and a half into training, my coach just goes, "Hey, there's a fight in 4 weeks where they want to put a couple of young guns on. Do you want to have a crack?" And I was just my heart was racing. I was wow. But I did it, and then after I did that fight, I was wow, this is something that I want to do. I want to do for maybe not even a career thing, but I wanted to compete.
Yeah.
I just wanted to compete from then on.
There's training in MMA and then there's fighting in MMA, and I feel like they're two different, not different people, but completely, well, not completely, but quite different mindsets, right? What was it that you gained through training in that first fight or those first few fights? What was it that you gained personally out of it that you thought, this is for me? Was it the confidence it gave you? Was it, what did it give you?
100% the confidence. That was a big thing. Because you're so unsure. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, can I do this? Am I going to be fit enough? Am I going to be this? And then once you've overcome it, like anything in life, I guess. But yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence, and just kind of like solidified in my mind that I can do it, and I'm actually all right at it. Because I was always sporty, and I was like I was just coordinated and like okay at everything, but never a standout in anything. But I feel like fighting was just like a little bit more. I just like I like picked it up a little bit more naturally, and was just pretty good at it. So then yeah, I just went from there.
In your rugby days and when you were playing rugby, was there that dog in you? Was there that ruffler in you that came out in rugby as well?
Yeah, a little bit, I think. No, I don't think it was any more than any other guy that was on the footy field. But yeah, because I was never a heaps rough kid. Like I never been in any street fights before. Like before I was a bit older, like I was never like that mongrel, if that makes sense. So going into a sport like fighting, my parents would have just been going, "Fuck, Jamie, what are you doing? Like, this might not be for you."
Is that what they were like?
Yeah, bro. My dad, he gave me like I don't even think I've ever told him this, but he gave me like the biggest like fire up and motivation once because we were watching this crazy fight on TV. It was Diego Sanchez versus Clay Guida, and this was a fucking crazy dogfight. These guys were just dropping each other, and we watched this fight, and I was like pumped. And it was when I started training, and Dad looks at me and goes, "Jamie, you couldn't do this. You would take one smack in the mouth and start crying." And I just ticked this thing in my head. I was like, "I'll fucking show you."
Do you reckon he knew what he was doing?
Maybe. I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. Maybe it was.
You can ask him later.
Yeah, that's a full dad thing to do, right? Like, yeah, give him a little bit of a nudge just to say, like, what are you going to do? So, yeah, maybe.
2013, you had your first fight. Was it 2013?
Man, I couldn't even tell you.
I think it was it
the like, pro fight?
Yeah, or maybe it was pro fight, yeah.
Yeah, my first pro fight was 2000.
What was the experience like in the weeks and days leading up to your first pro fight?
Yeah, it was cool, man, because I was really lucky to have a good group of guys that were looking after me from Magnus Martial Arts. So that was my first gym. And there was a bunch of pro fighters. One of them, Rick Alchin, came up to Townsville to corner me for that fight. And yeah, it was cool, man. Like just taking in the fight week and doing things just a little bit more professionally, I guess. And yeah, then fighting Luke Hume in his hometown, that was a good experience.
Yeah.
It was like going up to Townsville, fighting him in his hometown, and like the whole crowd was for him. And Luke Hume at the time, he was a very experienced fighter as well.
Yeah.
He had like something like 15 or 16 pro fights, so it was a bit of a jump. But no, I got in and got the job done.
You went on was an 8-fight win record after that?
Yeah, 9. Yeah.
Yeah, before coming up against a pretty well-known guy called Alex Volkanovski. What did he know about Volk leading into that fight?
I knew he was the man in Australian featherweights, lightweights. even welterweight. He come down from, I think he had his first fight at middleweight. And I remember
The old rugby league Volk.
yeah, footy bowl. He was just a tank, and he was destroying everyone. And I fought with him on the same card twice actually. Once in Queensland, and I'm looking at this guy like he's potential competition because he was lightweight, and I was featherweight at the time. And then we're at the airport and we were having a chat, and he just won the title like the night before, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming down to featherweight, I think," and I was like, "Oh fuck." I was just thinking, shit. But I'm going to my coach. Yeah, I can beat him. I can take him for sure. Like that's just the fighter in me. I was just instilling in my mind, I'm the best. I can beat him. Then one day we got offered to fight him for his title on AFC, and I called my coach and I was like, yeah, I've been offered to fight Volk. Like I want to do it. And then Noah just said, like, you look. It's going to be a tough fight, but I'll back you. Whatever you want to do, I'll back you. But I could tell that he was like saying, this is not an easy fight, bro. So yeah, that was what all I knew about him was he was the man. No one wanted to fight him at the time as well.
Run me through the fight and what you learned from it.
Yeah, man. When I learned that showing up to the fight and like your mental is everything, because showing up to that fight, I was trying to be as confident as I could in the lead up, and just telling myself that I was gonna win, I was gonna do it, and then on fight night that just kind of like crumbled, and I just felt myself crumble, and I could hear him warming up, and I was even just like, oh fuck, I can't wait for this to be over. So I was just beaten before I already got in there, sort of thing, like if that makes sense. So that was the biggest thing that it taught me. And yeah, it's funny because even in that lead up, I was trying to like be so confident that I'll probably come off as even a bit disrespectful. Yeah.
How does denial, in hindsight, do you reckon you denied how you were actually feeling? Like, were you actually lacking confidence, but you denied that and then overcompensated to come across more confident than what you truly were?
Yeah, that's fair to say. But honestly, I was feeling confident all the way up, but it's a different thing when you're about to fight someone.
Yeah.
That's when it gets real.
Yeah.
And that's why I even try to say that to our amateurs and beginners, like it's going to be real. Like you're going to be standing there in front of him, and you're going to be trying to kill each other. So that's where I was in my mind just so confident the whole way up. But then when we're standing across the cage from each other, and I was like, oh fuck, this is really happening now. That's when the confidence just crumbled a little bit. But It's for a reason as well, right? Like he was very good, so it was a big step up. Anyway, I knew it was going to be a hard fight to begin with. So, yeah.
Have you ever been scared?
Oh, 100%. Scared. I'm scared before every fight.
Yep.
Every fight. I think your nerves and your feelings are always the same. You just get better at dealing with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what better means. Define better. What does better look like now versus Jamie 10 years ago?
Just I don't know how to explain it really. It's just getting more used to it.
Yeah, okay.
Just being more used to it and
more proof in the pudding sort of thing, like
just being okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you, coming back to Volt, you've been able to train with Volt obviously a lot down in is it Windang? Describe the intensity and the feeling like being in that environment when you're surrounded by greatness. You know, Central Coast is obviously a fantastic place to live. You know, it's very sporty. But then you get exposed to these environments like where Volt trains and those places where I can only imagine the level of intensity just goes up just purely by the caliber of people that are in the room. What's that experience like?
Yeah, it was amazing. So I went down for the first camp My first camp was when I got my first win in the UFC. And I think that was a part of it, just the build up, the lead up, the training partners. It was I was lucky enough to be in a training camp with Volk when he was going to defend his title. So it was just all that put together, and it does, man. It lifts the room. It lifts the room just when Volk's there alone, I think.
Yep.
Just that champion energy that they say. But yeah, and everyone down there, man, it's a good place to be.
Is his engine as good as what everyone says his engine is?
Fuck yeah. Yeah, no, it's like the guy's got a third lung. It's insane.
Have you had a few good roles with him in training camps?
Yeah, no, we get some good rounds in, man. It's good.
That's cool. The 6th of October, 2019, do you remember that day?
Yes, very clearly.
Is your UFC debut against Brad Riddell. What was it like running out and fulfilling that lifelong dream?
Oh, surreal. I was actually really stoked that I had my brother in my corner that day, because he was like cornering me for every pro fight I had in the lead up to the UFC, and then he come on for my debut, and he recorded from standing behind me. He recorded the walkout. Walking out into Marvel Stadium was just so cool to look back on. And yeah, everything about that week was just special and exciting. You know, I've never been to a UFC fight week before, obviously, and being my debut, it was just it was kind of like hard taking it all in, but just very, very, very exciting.
Although you didn't get your hand risen in that fight, you didn't get the W per se. Did you almost feel like you got a win more than that? You were able to fulfill your dream. You had your family there. It sounds like you're very grateful for that experience.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and like with the way that fight played out, me and Brad we're coming on for our UFC debut, both hungry to get at it, and we put on fight of the night. So in a way, that was the only like sort of loss I've ever had that felt like a win.
Yeah,
because like we went out after and just celebrated with all my friends and family that come down. So yeah, it was very special.
You said you had a loss that felt like a win. Your next fight, many thought you won the fight. What was that like coming home? Was that against the French guy, the next fight?
Yeah.
What was it like coming home? I feel like you can go down two paths in that moment. It can kill your spirit, or you can motivate you more. Which did it do for you?
Yeah, it motivated me more for sure. But it was just a very damp, dark time because that was obviously had a full camp leading up, and then when I didn't get the decision, which I thought I won, and a lot of people thought I won, it was just a bit disheartening, and it actually sent me into a downhill thought process of like, fuck, am I really good enough to be? Because like I lost my first fight, I lost my second fight, so I've worked my whole life and career to get to the UFC, and now that I'm finally here, I'll lose my first two fights. Even though, like we said, I thought I won. It was a harsh call, I thought, but no, it was like kind of like I was questioning a lot of things. I think you do after every loss, though. Every loss that a fighter has, you really question things. So it can do you a lot of good in a way as well. But yeah,
it's funny how the mind works, right? Because the first fight, your debut, it was a fight of the night, right? And you said you felt like you won to a degree, even though you lost, right? And then the second fight, you felt like you won and you outperformed the opposition. And it's like in the logic of it, there are probably two performances you're quite happy with in that sense, but unfortunately the result didn't go that way. Isn't it funny how the mind can be sent in a spiral not looking at the black and white facts of, you know what, I felt like I should have won that fight and I was fight of the night in my first fight, but the result didn't go my way. And it's crazy how we cling on to that, like we cling on to that and how that can send you in a spiral. Talk to me about how you pulled yourself out and started to regain momentum when you're in those lowest points.
Yeah. And we've talked about it before, bro, like about perception is everything. So like when you're looking at it, it can be the way you look at it. So that is kind of funny. It's just the way that your mind looks at it and grasps it. That's how everything you think is like just revolved around that.
For sure.
What
did you, I feel like momentum is such a big thing in life, but in an athlete, you know, whether it's in the fight, you know, we've obviously done some stuff and we talked about momentum a lot. Everything's good when we've got momentum, but it can become challenging, and I feel like mental skills and mindset work becomes even more important when we don't have momentum. How did you regain momentum after that second loss in your second fight?
It's just literally back to the gym and kind of with a chip on my shoulder, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. Just going back to it and like just digging deep and going like with a bad desire and just training hard. Yeah.
When I say Sunday, 28th of March, 2021, what do you initially think of?
My UFC debut.
How's that feel?
Yeah. And I was like a weight lifted off my shoulders, so to speak. Yeah.
Not many people could probably comprehend, but what's it feel like having your hand raised?
Yeah, it was it was like relieving because I knew I could do it, obviously, but I hadn't had that performance that sort of opened eyes and went, oh wow, this guy's really good, or this guy's for real. Hadn't had that performance yet, so it was very special to me, very special day, and very just like I said, relieving. Just knowing that I could do it, and then when I finally got it done, it was just the best feeling ever.
Why did Jamie know that he was going to win that fight leading up to it?
Because I had to. So like with the UFC, basically you get like 3 losses in a row is like really not good, and I hadn't even had a win yet. So my coach even said to me before the fight, he was like, "This is a must-win fight. You know, this is like our back's on the wall now." So it was just literally do or die. So I just knew walking out to that fight, I was saying to myself, "This is it. You got to pull the trigger."
How do you have the mindset that you had to win, but at the same time making sure that didn't impact the decisions that you make and then create irrationalities in your performance?
Man, I think it's the elite. Yeah. What am I trying to say?
Your prep.
Yeah.
On the opposition.
Yeah, it's definitely the work that you've put in. Like that's what kind of gives confidence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like giving up?
Yeah, I've like had those feelings. I think it's pretty normal, to be honest. I think it's normal to have those feelings and feeling like I don't want to do this anymore. Especially when you've fallen a couple of times. But yeah, then you just wake up one day and go, "Fuck, what was I talking about? That's bullshit. I know this is what I'm doing. This is what I want to do."
So I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of non-pros to early pros to multiple Dally M winners, which is the MVP here in the NRL, multiple times in the NRL and the NRLW, and working with 2 national sporting teams. And so in that journey, I've been able to recognize and see consistent trends between what makes someone pro if they're not pro, what makes someone go to the next level if they are a pro, and then thirdly, how do they become great? How do they move into that elite bracket? If you're wanting to be great as a modern day athlete, or if you're looking at becoming a pro, then you need to take the mind just as seriously as the body. You need to see them as interconnected. We need to harmonize the body and the mind, because the mind is the command center for the body. The first step to getting started with mental skills is by understanding and recognizing the part of your mind that is holding you back the most right now, which is why we created the 4 athlete mindset profiles, which is a 5-step quiz that allows you to answer specific questions and spits out at the end one of your profiles, whether it's the Zen warrior, the executor, the performer, or the trailblazer. Each of these profiles lists out your greatest strengths and your weaknesses, giving you a step-by-step process and a video training on how you can find an edge and incorporate it fast. If you want to discover your mindset profile and get an instant edge, click the link in the show notes below or head to theelevatedathlete.com.au/quiz.
When you finish a fight, whether you win or lose, what's the moments like coming together with your family and your partner after those moments? Obviously, you're going to war. Let's put the result aside for a second. You're going to war. You're a warrior. What's it like having that perspective of, this is what matters most, is my partner, my dog, my family? What's those moments like after?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question, actually, because it is, it really sort of takes you back when you get back to your family and your loved ones, like you said, regardless of the result. Because at the end of the day, your mum, your dad, your missus, whatever, they don't care even that I'm a fighter. Like they just want to see me do well in life and be happy. So when you get back to your loved ones, and it really does like sort of make you go, wow, this is what matters. This is because like athletes put so much pressure on themselves. We do. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to win, and which is important. You need to. But then getting back with that family, I think family time is like one of the most underlooked things. That you can do.
I often speak about with athletes, it's the battle between telling yourself you're not doing enough and also being happy with what you've done.
Yeah.
Do you find that's a constant battle?
Yeah, man. It can be a fine line sometimes too, but for sure, like I feel like I'm always not thinking I'm doing enough all the time, and sometimes that's when you need a good coach or a good coach to sort of pull you back and go, yeah, you're good. Like go over rest this weekend or whatever. Even we were talking about it the other day. Just how I just had some time off and just how underlooked it can be.
Yeah.
Like I think it's really underrated because it can do so much for you up here.
Yeah, for sure.
Up on your mental. You come back from a break and you're just refreshed.
I often speak about like there's skills that we have to develop as athletes, and you have to develop. I'm not speaking for myself, it's been for you and the other athletes that I work with. We have to develop skills like it's necessary. But isn't it funny when we start to work on the mind, how much improvement and how much our perception of things start to change, and how those perceptions actually alter our performances and our training sessions?
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like makes everything feel easier and smoother.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You're in the sheds, your name is called out. What's that moment like? Your name's called out and you're about to start making that walk. If you don't mind, what are some of the internal thoughts you're having? What are you telling yourself in those moments?
I'm always just telling myself, like I always think to myself, just think about good technique. Good technique, because I think that how you control your mind when you're walking out there, it's such a crazy moment, right? Like you're walking out into a crowd, gonna go fight for 15 minutes for your life, essentially. Like that's how I always feel. I feel like it's a fight for my life, and I'm just always trying to breathe and stay calm. And because obviously that's what we need to do in them situations. Like you let the nerves get the better of you, like you're just not going to perform as well. So yeah, just trying to stay calm, man.
Do you thrive in isolation when you walk into the cage and it's just you and the other fighter? And just talk to me about those moments of isolation.
I do, man. I love it. I fucking love it. Like, because it's such a build up and it's so many emotions and things to overcome. But like we said before, I'm confident in my preparation. So my preparation's made me confident. And then like I've even heard Conor McGregor said this once, and it's a good analogy. It's like as you're walking out to the cage, it's like you feel like a gorilla, like all chained up, and you're breaking off the shackles. It's like you're just becoming free. So when I get into that cage and the announcement's being made, it's just like I'm just happy and ready to go. I'm confident and just like the moment's finally here. It's time to go.
Do you have a routine when you get into the cage? I can only imagine, and we've spoken about it before, is like, finding momentum early. Before the fight even commences and you're just into the cage, is there a routine that you do, or is there a process that you do that helps you ground into that moment and just put yourself in that environment?
Not really. There never really has been this like one thing that I do.
Yeah, like I stand on the cage, sort of, how Izzy does that sort of thing. You don't have anything like that?
Nah, I've never really had it. I've always just got into the cage. I run a circle around the cage usually. I just run a little circle and just feel it out, feel the canvas under my feet, and then I'm just locked in on my opponent. That's funny because who was it? Greg Jackson. Greg Jackson had his fighters. He runs a school out at Albuquerque. Used to be John Jones' coach, all that, and he always had his fighters go out and rub their nipples when they got in the cage. So it was just like a thing, just to sort of remind them that do a really like a very humane thing.
Yeah.
Something funny like that. And they'd rub their nipples, like just to go, I'm here, I'm present, I'm in the moment, like let's do this sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool. How closely is anger, you're fighting, right? And I can only imagine that anyone listening that, if you get into a rough and, in a sporting match or at the pub or a night out, there's obviously anger involved. How closely correlated is anger between being beneficial and being not beneficial and becoming reckless?
Yeah, like I think we've even sort of talked about this, that like how a calm mind will always do a lot better.
Yeah,
like when you're thinking clearer. So it's a funny one. You've got to have that like mongrel and that dog in you.
Yeah.
But channeling that is super, super important, because that can literally be the difference between a guy that loses that should have won the fight.
Yep.
But just literally just based on his not controlling that, not harnessing that aggression, like just makes a mistake and gets caught. Like sure. It's super important, bro. It's funny, me and my coach were talking about that recently. I think we were saying how just some of the young lads in our gym, they've got too much of that, too much anger and too much fire. But we're saying like it's important.
Yep.
You need that to be a fighter.
Yeah.
But you've just got to learn how to use it and how to like keep focused and keep calm while having that in the back pocket.
We've spoken about it before, how thoughts, can drive actions if we're not aware of it. And it's so, if you're thinking anger, if you're thinking frustration, if you just had a shot landed on you, if the time between your thought and your action, if you haven't worked on your mindset, that can quickly go, I'm frustrated, I'm going to react in frustration. And then that could be opening a shot that comes and puts you on the canvas and you get tapped, right?
Yes.
You said before how like a calm fighter or a calm athlete is a more optimized athlete. Just do you feel even though you're calm, you still got that savage in you?
Yeah, for sure. It's called like there's like a tiger and dragon.
Yeah.
So the Chinese have like this way of the tiger. My coach told me this. The tiger is like strong, masculine, super aggressive, super like fiery.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like too much.
Yeah.
It's too much tiger. Whereas the dragon is tiger and dragon. The dragon has all those same things, so dangerous, so deadly, but it remains calm and focused and methodical. It's a lot more methodical than than the tiger is. So that's what we always say. We try to be more dragon, not too much tiger.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good way to put it. I like to use Buddha badass.
Which are?
Buddha badass. So you've got the foundation of being a Buddha, which is nice and calm and grounded, and then you've got that backing of the badass in you as well. And you just and like other terminologies is redhead, blue head, and a lot of people find in rugby league they talked about that a lot, is like that balance between redhead and blue head, and finding the interconnection of those two spaces or those two mindsets, and finding purple head and finding that blend between having the calm in you but having the savage in you.
So what do you think is more important?
I think emotion is incredibly important, particularly for someone like yourself, because you're experiencing a moment where you're as a warrior. We want emotion there, we want meaning there without acting from emotion.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because if we act from emotion, we can also become reckless.
Yeah.
We want to come back to process. And, obviously you do your video work and your prep, and we speak about this a lot, but you do your video and prep and you know exactly the weaknesses and how you're going to expose your opposition. But if that mind is flooded with emotion, our ability to see the fact that they're leading with the lead that you need to kick is a lot harder, because your mind is clouded by emotion, not process.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, where sometimes I think that happens with myself and I don't even know it.
Yeah.
It can just be my mind and my feelings, like my feelings going into the cage or going into a match, whatever it may be. Just with that first sort of feeling, that creates the next action for me. Yeah. And it's like I subconsciously don't even know that I'm acting out of maybe anger or fear, instead of just being present and calm.
For sure. What does hooligan mean to you? And talk to me about the evolution of your alter ego, particularly since starting to work on your mindset. Has your perception, you speak about that a lot, your perception of your alter ego hooligan, has that evolved over time?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's still a work in progress. But when I'm looking into, as we say, the hooligan, like I'm just really trying to lock in and dial in completely, be focused, which is funny because the hooligan came as being a brawler and being a bit erratic, but we've kind of turned it into being this locked in, professional, present killer.
Yeah, that's awesome. Talk to me about, since diving into mental skills and mental performance, have you noticed any changes in your training or day-to-day life? We haven't had the ability to translate it into a performance per se, but have you noticed any subtle differences in your training?
Yeah, man, I think I've said it to you before, like the meditation and just slowing things down has done a lot for me. Yeah, it's really made me focus and dial in more, be more present, be more clear-headed. And like really, well, I'm just even scratching at the surface of what we're going to be doing. So that's exciting. I think it's something that's so underlooked.
I think the cool thing about yourself and the athletes that I've been able to work with, or the athletes that work with other mental performance coaches, I think like the number one pillar that needs to happen before any improvements are made is like the buy-in to doing it, mental skills, and also the respect of it. And I think what you've been able to do really, really well, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it, is like, was there a moment where you didn't respect you didn't quite understand how it worked, or you didn't see how it impacted your performance, but now you're in a position where you respect it, you see it, you want to train it, you want to evolve it?
100%. I think when we were starting our training and going into it, I was sort of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was like, I don't know, like could be even a waste of time, like that, those kind of thoughts. But as we gone on to it, as we've progressed in it, I think I've even sent you things and just time to time just called you and gone, hey, like that thing that we were working the other day, like I've just used it, or I've just like realized something, and it's just like it explodes in my mind. It's just like it makes sense, and it's just like I said, we're only scratching the surface of it.
You've obviously had a few fights now, right? And it's only been as of late that you've really started to focus on the mentality. Do you see to a degree, your career only just then started now that you're approaching it from a different perspective?
We're definitely at a high level.
Yep.
As well, because I think that this is something that you should be implementing when personally at the highest level, like, because I'm in the highest level of my sport in the world, the UFC. So there's a lot to take in and perform under pressure, and a lot of eyes on you, a lot of everything. So,
And everyone's so good. Like the edge, the edge is so small.
exactly, yeah. It can be just the finest little edge. So I really do. I do think that it's going to take me to a whole new level.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would it mean to get the opportunity to fight in Sydney, UFC 312?
Oh, need it, bro. Yeah, I'm banking on it. So fingers crossed. It would mean the world to me to fight in my hometown again. Man, the difference between like flying 20 hours to another time zone, or like my last fight in Sydney, I drove an hour down the road in my own car, just drove to the hotel. It was just like so much better physically, mentally, physically on your body, just not having to go through all that jet lag and all that bullshit. So, and then when you want to talk about the mental side of it and the feelings that it gave me walking out into the cage, it's like my cousin said it the other day. It's like you grew 2 foot taller on the way out to the cage, because there's random people like yelling out, "Fucking go, Mullarkey!" Like, just take his head off. I was like, what? I was kind of thinking, like, I don't even know these people. This is crazy. And I obviously don't get that reception in the States or anywhere else. So it's very special, and it's a big difference in your performance, I think.
That's great. Well, brother, it's been a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed it. But before we wrap up, I just wanted to pull up some really cool pieces that you've got here, some memorabilia. Talk to me about this one that I've got in my hand. Do you remember this fight?
Oh, very, very clearly, man. That was my fight with Michael Johnson. Pretty surreal moment. Fighting MJ. He was a guy that I looked up to getting into the sport, and used to watch him when I was first training. So, Jacob Brood set this up, and these kind of photos will be available in all his shops. I think he's got 4 on the coast.
Yep.
So this is just a little project that we were doing, and some memorabilia shots. So I've signed it, and they'll be available soon.
Awesome. And the best way for someone to find this is just to visit your Instagram.
Yeah. Visit my Instagram. We're going to put a post up of all the locations that they can be bought. And I think there's only 50 of each. So 50 of the collage ones, and then 50 of the big blown out fight with MJ. Well, quick, because they'll go.
Guys, if you want a good looking Irishman on your wall, grab one of those. Visit Jamie's Instagram. But Hooligan, mate, it's been a great discussion. I'm looking forward to our journey ahead, mate. And I feel like you said, you're only scraping the surface. So good things ahead.
100%, brother. Thanks for having me on.